Another video for my people out there. U.S. men's national team versus Australia. And it started off very rocky. First of all, Australia is already a World Cup qualified team. And a not formidable, but very respectable opponents coming out of Asia. I believe this was 12 games straight going into the U.S. men's national team game, which they were unbeaten. It's a decent team. It's a team that you could very well face in the World Cup. And you start off in a disastrous type of way. Off a throw-in, you are punished, and you let in a goal where there were probably 3 or 4 separate players that failed to react. Flat-footed, slow, just in a way you could never be off a throw-in or defending any type of set piece. Really disappointing. Most would point the finger at Christian Roldan because it was the last error of like 4 or 5, but it wasn't just Roldan. There was Chris Richards. There was, I believe, Miles Robinson. There was, I want to say, Alex Freeman. And then, yes, Roldan, who couldn't react on time, was caught flat-footed. But there was 4 or 5 different players who played a part there. And a bit of good fortune from the Australian player who took the shot. And I think Chris Richards grazed the back of his foot and kind of, if you will, set it for a nice little strike. Either way, disappointing. But the reaction was great. The reaction was very, very good from the U.S. men's national team. And in a way that we weren't really expecting, because if you look at Mauricio Pochettino and what he's done with this U.S. men's national team, or at least in his tenure, what he's had, the U.S. men's national team goes down under Mauricio Pochettino. That's a game you don't win. It's the first time under Mauricio Pochettino in his era that they've been able to come back from being a goal down. Team scores first against you, and you pull out a victory. Let's talk about that. That's great. That's positive. A few very good performances. We'll start with the obvious. Haji Wright. You have Fowler and Balogun, I wouldn't say breathing down your neck. In the eyes of many, had passed you. He was the 9 that everybody thought the U.S. men's national team has. This is the 9. This is Fowler and Balogun's show. The last 2 games, he's played very well, and he's coming off, I believe, 2 straight games with a goal. It's going to be his show. That's going to be Mauricio Pochettino's 9. And then Haji Wright says, calma, hold on a bit. Reminds everybody that he's the last 9 to score a World Cup goal. The last true 9 since Brian McBride to score a World Cup goal. Think about that. The last true 9 since Brian McBride to score a World Cup goal for the U.S. men's national team. That was Haji Wright. Now, many of you will say, oh, it was very fortunate, it was lucky against the Netherlands, et cetera, the way it went in. Listen, a goal's a goal. And Haji Wright right now is probably the hottest striker in the U.S. men's national team pool. Fowler and Balogun's look good. Very good. Very good. Especially his link-up play with Christian Pulisic and the plethora of ways he can be useful for Mauricio Pochettino. But he went very cold for Monaco. In fact, he was on the outs with Monaco, whether it was through injury or being on the bench and not getting the time he deserved. His last game, get back on the field. I believe the most dangerous play he had, he drew a penalty kick for Monaco, and it was Moises Bombito, the Canadian center back, who was involved in taking Fowler and Balogun down. And unluckily for Moises Bombito, he was involved in a pretty horrific injury, which fractured his tibia, if I'm not mistaken. So he's out. We wish him well. But that was the danger moment for Fowler and Balogun with club. Haji's put it together for club, and now he's putting it together for country. So we got a real race here. And I'm not counting out Ricardo Pepi. It's a guy who, if he gets healthy, could be in the conversation as well. But right now it's a 2-horse race. It's Fowler and Balogun, and it's Haji Wright. 2 players who have the ability to be dangerous in different ways. Similar, but different. Maybe Fowler and Balogun has a little bit more link-up play, but Haji Wright, just a bigger profile and maybe more ways he can hurt you. And both have the ability to create by themselves. Listen, the second goal that he scores, that cutback onto a weaker foot was brilliant, and he slots it away. So Haji Wright had himself a night. And then a lot of people aren't going to like this, but Christian Roldan had himself a night. Uh, a player makes a mistake, one of many players who made a mistake in that goal, and what you want is redemption. You want him to redeem themselves. You want him to redeem, in good actions going forward. And he was playing as a double pivot, and he got 2 assists on the night. And it's the quality of the assist. The first one, beautifully weighted ball into the stride of Haji Wright. Now, Haji Wright has a ridiculous finish, a la Romario, toe poke. Very deceiving, very difficult finish to pull off. And it's 1-0. And then very nicely done, the second one, a play by Christian Roldan. Heads up play, a foul. He starts it really quickly, puts into the path of Haji Wright. Haji Wright does the rest, but 2 very good plays. And he was probably the most dangerous player for the U.S. men's national team in the first half. Opportunities in front of goal from distance, in between the lines. He had himself a coming out party, if you will. Now, many people accuse Christian of being the vibes type of guy. Like, he's there because people like him. Things like that happen all the time in sports, not just professional sports. There are glue guys. There are guys that are good for the team. But you can't deny he's not a good player in Major League Soccer, that he's not an important player for the Seattle Sounders. And he was an important player on the night. I don't care. And I've been, guilty of this as well, of putting more stock in European players. But regardless of where you play, when you come to the U.S. men's national team, you want these players to show up. He showed up. He showed up. And that's what you want and expect out of every single player on the team. So that was another very good performance. There are going to be some players here who are probably going to be under this new 5-man back line, 3 center backs, casualties of the formation. And I'm starting to get the idea that maybe one of those players is Weston McKennie, who's being asked to play as a double 10 higher up the field, because I don't think Mauricio Pochettino trusts him tactically in his discipline to stay as a double pivot, to help out defensively. And I don't know. I like Weston in the middle, but I don't want to limit Weston in his ability to hunt, to track down. I don't want to tie him down. But if you're going to play with wingbacks who go flying up and down the field, and when they're up, you have to have discipline, you're going to need that second pivot to really, really have that tactical discipline. So he may be a casualty there. Weston's best qualities are arriving late into the box. On a night where he was playing as a double 10, it was Christian Roldan who was deeper that got 2 assists. So I like him when he's arriving late. He could be a casualty here. And the other one is Timothy Weah. There are no wingers anymore. The width is provided by your wingbacks. And if Anthony Robbins is healthy, Anthony Robbins is going to play down the left-hand side. If Serginho Dest is healthy, Serginho Dest is going to play down the right-hand side. Where does that leave Timothy Weah? Can he be one of those 210s? I don't know. I like Timothy Weah. I think he needs to be on the field. He's going to find ways to be dangerous. I really do feel so. But 2 games as a wingback, right wingback, left wingback, and he was quiet. Will you sacrifice a Christian Pulisic? No, not in that double 10. Are you going to pick him over Malik Tillman? Probably not. So these could be a few casualties of the system here. And then, finally, I think the debate's been settled, at least in Mauricio Pochettino's mind. His number 1 is Matt Freese. Matt Freese has gotten every single game from Gold Cup on. There's been nobody else. So Mauricio Pochettino right now is clearly thinking, I have to give Matt Freese time, minutes, to feel comfortable heading into the World Cup. Matt Turner came back to Major League Soccer for an opportunity. He's back on the radar, but he's not getting these minutes. And if there isn't a stark difference in the style of the 2 goalkeepers, you've got to go with confidence. And clearly right now the more confident player is Matt Freese. And in the mind of Mauricio Pochettino, I think that's been made up. So will be interesting to see when players are healthy, what this team looks like. I'm talking about the Joe Scally. No, that's another one. I'm talking about the Serginho Dest, Anthony Robinsons, the Tyler Adams. He was healthy, but he and his wife just had a baby. Congratulations to them. So he'll be back on the fold. Johnny Cardoso. And yeah, maybe a Joe Scally in the mix. maybe another forward like a Ricardo Pepi, maybe another center back like an Austin Trusty, et cetera, et cetera. We will have to wait and see. But I like the reaction. Not an easy window for the U.S. men's national in terms of opponents, but they did very, very well. And it looks like the formation is here to stay, and it looks like a few players have made a name for themselves and have staked claim to more opportunities. What say you?